Hi everyone, hello. Thank you very much for attending today. I'm here with Knut Relbe-Moe. Hi.
Hello, hello.
We are just starting the webinar, but before we do, we wanted to show you how to enjoy the webinar in your own language with subtitles in your language. So 45 seconds technical information just for your convenience. So let me run this for you.
Hello everyone, I'm coming to you with a short instruction on how to enjoy our webinar with Polish subtitles thanks to new Microsoft Teams feature. All you need to do is click on three things and you'll be able to enjoy a real live translation from Teams. At the bottom corner of your screen, you see an icon with CC on it. All you need to do is click on it and then go to the subtitles sections. Please change the language from English to Polish. And that's it. Now Teams will translate in real life our conversation and you'll be able to enjoy the subtitles in Polish. Enjoy the webinar.
Okay, so Microsoft Teams better and better every day, so right?
It is for sure.
Yeah. If anyone wanted to see this video once again or have any kind of problems with it, just let us know via chat. Our colleagues are here to help. Maybe they will repost the video or answer a question directly. So if you have any problems, just ask. But yeah, let's start. So once again, hello and thank you for coming today. My name is Łukasz Potrzebka from Digital Dexterity Labs, and I'm here with Knut Relbe-Moe, renowned Microsoft MVP specializing in Microsoft SharePoint and employee experience platforms. So Knut, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's lovely to be here in your studio and to do this interview.
Yeah, well, the pleasure is ours. So if you could just tell our viewers a little bit about your background and your past experiences, this would be great.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a 9-year Microsoft MVP. I've been working for different type of companies, delivering intranets and employee engagement platforms over the last 10 years, and of course worked with SharePoint for the last 20 years. Based in Norway, but I have been working with like customers all over the world, basically.
Yeah, that sounds impressive, really. And this is why we wanted to have you today. And once again, that's very nice you joined us, because we would like to talk a little bit about how to streamline the communication using Microsoft tools and platforms, especially topics around the intranet and, well, how others handle them, how others resolve their problems, and, well, what are the practitioner insights and, tricks of the trade on how to create your own intranet using Microsoft tools. So the webinar is planned for around 45 to 50 minutes. And yeah, I have prepared a list of questions that I would like you to answer. I'm going to show some things as well, and I would like to hear your comment about them. And to everyone that is here with us today, we've also prepared a special offer that we are going to present to you near the end of the webinar. So stay tuned. I think you will like it. So in terms of our plan for today, our agenda, I would like to start us with some theory regarding SharePoint intranet implementations, especially the successful ones. Then we'll move on to discuss some intranet essential components and features. Next would be the heart of our discussion today. So common challenges and how to overcome them. I'm pretty sure you've encountered some challenges while working with your clients. And yeah, I have researched a few of them, and I would like you to answer how to handle them. Then, since we have you here and you have exclusive insight into Microsoft product platform, as well as unique connections to people that are working on Microsoft tools and features, we would love to hear what is coming up next in terms of communication and the tools Microsoft is offering us. And last but not least, a Q&A session. So yes, please ask any questions you might have regarding things we say, or maybe things you're interested in this field. And in the end, we are going to answer them. So feel free to use this Q&A button that you have on your screen. So are we ready, Knut? Shall we begin?
I was born ready, so let's begin.
Whoa, that sounded serious. So let's start. Okay, so let's discuss successful SharePoint intranet implementations. And I'm pretty sure that almost everyone that attends here, or everyone that came here today, has their own definition of the words we have in this header. But since we would like to see your perspective, so Knut, could you tell us what is an intranet? How could we understand this tool nowadays?
Yeah, so this is kind of a very interesting question, of course, because I think everybody can interpret it a little bit differently. But for me, like an intranet is like an internal communication tool where we can kind of share news, we can share important information for the employees. For instance, where can I go and find like what type of policies do we have, like what type of health insurance do we have, all those kind of things for my company. And of course, it also a place to interact, like because especially now with the new way of working, people are not so much in the office no more, is an important channel also for communication for the employees. So for instance, we should maybe have like a place where employees can raise their voice, where the employees can kind of interact with each other. Let's say I'm in the office, I want to post to everyone that I'm in the office. So it's become more of a social place, like a little bit like not totally like Facebook or something like that, but it should be more in that sense as well.
So not only a place where we talk to people, but we hear from them as well.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's great. That's great perspective. So I used the word SharePoint in my header. So what is SharePoint and how it can be used in intranets? Because historically, many of us have experience in SharePoint, and not every experience is great.
Yeah, so I remember like some years ago when I talked about what is SharePoint, and then I kind of said SharePoint is like a religion. You're either a fan or you're not a fan. But SharePoint is a platform from Microsoft that can be used for different scenarios, and an intranet is one of the scenarios where SharePoint can be used. I remember seeing a slide from Microsoft some years back where Microsoft pronounced that 80% of all intranets in the world is running on SharePoint. So I don't know if those numbers are real or true or not, but it tells a lot that SharePoint at least is a platform for you to communicate, collaborate, and share information.
Yeah. So you mentioned platform.
Yeah.
And Microsoft 365 is such a platform, and SharePoint is a part of it.
Yeah.
So what is Microsoft 365 and how it could be used in terms of internal communications?
Yeah, so Microsoft 365 is like the bigger picture, so that's where you have all the different tools or services that Microsoft allows us to use in the Microsoft Cloud, basically. So there you will have Teams, for instance, where we're running this webinar on. It's also a part of the Microsoft 365 platform. We'll also have your Office tools like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint there. So it's basically your digital workplace is actually Microsoft 365, just to make it simple.
Okay, thank you. It's great we have established all these terms and this, let's call it technology. We won't dig deeper today, so no worries. I recently ran into a report that said that the reasons why the intranet projects and digital workplace projects are difficult does not lie in technology. So really, what makes the implementation of such intranet successful? So what is your experience?
So this is kind of the $1 million question, basically, because this is what everybody wants. Like everybody wants their implementation to be successful. Everybody wants, people to use whatever they develop and put out there. But of course, in my impression, what makes an implementation successful is you need to have some people internally that is like kind of the superheroes, that is taking on board the product that you're working on, like an intranet, and be their superheroes to kind of always make sure that people are going there. And of course, to have an implementation successful as well, you need to have information there that people need. You need to have all the time new content coming in, for instance, in an intranet perspective, if nobody is moderating it, if nobody is putting new information there, nobody will go there. So that's how easy it is. Yeah.
So this superheroes, this super group will ensure that the goals we possibly and I think I hope we will set for our project will be met, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, that's very good definition. I totally agree, if I can. Okay, so Microsoft 365, different services, different tools. And of course, it can be a bit overwhelming, right? We mentioned SharePoint and Teams already. There is more. What would you say is the most essential from this perspective for our deployment? Do we need to focus on all of them, or we can just cherry pick some of them?
I think it depends again on the requirements of the customer. It's like there's no silver bullet here that match everything. So you need to come in and analyze the requirement in the customer scenario, of course, because some people might be okay with just using SharePoint for the intranet, and everyone will go in there and into the browser or into other places to reach intranet, while others, like now we are working so much remotely, they would love to get everything into Teams with, like, for instance, Viva connections that can bring your SharePoint-based intranet into Teams. Of course, you will use the Microsoft 365 platform, if you are not very strict and you cannot have things in the cloud. So again, it really depends on the requirement of the customer. But if you will ask me, like, what different tools I think they have to use, I will say Viva, with Viva Engage, maybe with Viva Connections, and with Teams and SharePoint, of course, because everything you share in Teams, files, etc., are stored in SharePoint. So whether you like it or not, you are using SharePoint. And of course, for document sharing, for information policies, for news, it will be SharePoint.
Okay. I think that's very important. And well, just to somehow to paraphrase that, it should be fit for purpose, right?
Exactly.
So we need to pick the ones. That's what you just basically said. We need to pick the ones that will help us achieve our goals, right?
Exactly.
Not the ones that will focus just on the technology and they will slow us down.
Yeah, because of course, if you go to like a Microsoft event somewhere, they will tell you to use this and that, but it doesn't mean that it's the right choice for your organization. So that's why you need to kind of be open and honest about, like, what are the requirements that you want to fulfill with your intranet deployment, in a sense. Like, how do you want to reach your audience? Like, how you want to reach people with news, how we want to find and locate the information policies and so on. And just by doing an analysis like that, you will figure out, like, which part of the Microsoft suite you will use, which tools to use, and when to use them, basically.
Okay. That's, well, we mentioned few services already.
Yeah.
And I think we are going to cover them and discuss them in a little detail later on. So if you feel overwhelmed with all those Vivas, SharePoints, and other things, I believe we will come to them, because some of the answers for my questions, I think, will cover them as well. So let's jump into the challenges that I researched, and they are really objective. So I just researched the top 5 challenges people meet while developing intranets, and really I couldn't not take the 6th one as well. So I included it as well. So starting with the basics and with things that may be foreseen as superficial. So how to apply a branding to SharePoint site? The first question. I didn't change it. This is how it popped up. How to apply branding to SharePoint site. For some, it's important for some reason, and if you can just comment on that.
Yeah, so it's very limited what options you have for branding a SharePoint site. You can kind of pick the logo, you can pick the color theme that you have available from the Microsoft perspective. So you can apply kind of the corporate color and the corporate logo, and that's basically it. And then you could, for instance, if you have a page, you could put some section backgrounds with different type of colors based on the same color scheme. But you cannot apply any modern way of branding, let's call it like that, at the current moment of time. So everybody that looks at a SharePoint-based intranet, they will think that from the design perspective, it's quite weak.
I've heard that there is this branding center coming by the end of the year. I think there are going to be few more options added to.
Yes, some of the web parts that Microsoft is having will get like a remake, basically, to allow a little bit more of branding experience, and they will use like modern fluent design capabilities and so on. To what extent that will make us possible to have an intranet page from Microsoft with their SharePoint capabilities look like a nice looking website, we don't know yet. And also, it's not every web part that's going to be supported from the beginning, at least with those new modern capabilities. So again, I don't think that Microsoft will cover the full branding wishes that I've been hearing the last 10 years from all the customers I worked with that always wanted more than what SharePoint can provide from a branding perspective. I don't think we will be able to answer them completely with the new branding center, but we will get more options basically. So it will be closer to where we want to go, but we will still not be completely there.
That's very interesting what you said, because I have the similar experiences. We are SharePoint practitioners by ourselves, and let me just show something to you, because as you said, you heard the requirement towards some more advanced branding branding model in the past years. So did we. And this is why we specialized in more in-depth SharePoint branding. So as you can see here, it's not only the header, footer, and logos changed. We have an image in the background. We have also changed the font, which hopefully is coming by the end of the year. I think one of the most important things I saw in branding center is font, which will be held across all the different sites. But we went further. We are also allowing people to change their branding according to, I don't know, a brand they refer to. Maybe there are different brands that they would like to express within the intranet, or to fit to the occasion. Like here we have the holiday season, right? So people can change their layout, and even we can prepare we can go all the way in and prepare something really crazy. This is also SharePoint.
It doesn't look like SharePoint, that's for sure.
It looks like modern websites, because this is what we are basing on. We hear our customers and we do something like that for them. So so do you think this would make your customers happier, the ones you mentioned across the years?
Yes, if I could have delivered something like that to those customers, they will all be extremely happy. Because we always felt underwhelmed by what we could deliver to them, and some of them even choose to go outside of the SharePoint platform to be able to get those branding capabilities. But if they could have the same capabilities from branding inside of SharePoint, of course, they will have chosen that option.
Yeah.
So this looks extremely modern. It looks extremely beautiful, and this is something I think that is also really key for intranet to be successful. Is actually that it also look nice, because if it looked dull, it looked boring, people might not even go in there.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? I think it engages people more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've covered that. If anyone has any questions regarding branding, please just let us know. Let us know in the chat. But let's move on to the second challenge or second question. So how to create an easy navigation. So if I can share my personal experience at the very beginning. So my first experiences with SharePoint was when I was at the university 20 years ago. It was SharePoint 2002, and our university wanted to share with us some documents and resources from classes.
Yeah.
And navigating through it was a nightmare. I didn't know where I am. I clicked on the link that my professor gave me, and I found those documents. But as soon as I went somewhere else, I wouldn't be able to come back. I had to use the same link I got once again. So really, I know that's the very end of bad navigation experience, but we don't want to focus on that. We would like to have this nice navigation. So
and
what's an easy navigation? What's a nice navigation?
Yeah, and that's funny, because like SharePoint 2001, which was like that version, the navigation actually didn't change before like 15 years later. so everybody was living with that bad navigation for so many years and was okay with that, which also kind of is interesting, because we would kind of want something better. But how to create an easy navigation into SharePoint, if you think about like SharePoint Modern and SharePoint in 2023, you need to kind of separate different type of navigation. You need to have like one global navigation where you will have all your different sites and you will navigate between the sites, and then every site need to have their own site navigation. There's no easy way to navigate it all in SharePoint, basically. So you cannot have like a huge big mega menu that will allow you to navigate all the sites and all the sub pages in like enough layers, basically. So you need to think about like how SharePoint is created and how everything is put together when you start your SharePoint navigation. But it's become much better since 2002. So now you can actually create navigation that works out of the box from Microsoft. Of course, it's not the perfect fit like with the branding, but at least it's become a lot better. So you need to have like a global navigation to navigate through your sites. You need to have a local navigation for the SharePoint site where you can go in and kind of, which will be on the top or on the left side, depending on your templates that you have. Then, of course, you can have in-page navigation, which can be like action buttons or whatever, which will allow you to navigate, or like quick links or whatever, those web parts that Microsoft offers, or you have the footer, basically. So those are the elements of navigation that Microsoft provides for you.
Mm-hmm. So what you just said means that we should select the right navigation feature according to the scope we would like to navigate within, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you need to, again, go in and do some internal work to kind of figure out how should we navigate this particular site. And you need to have then also the scope that, hey, if you have like in-page navigation, you lose those navigation when you go to the next page. So then how to navigate back to the page where you came from. So you need to think through all those things when you design a navigation inside of SharePoint.
Well, it sounds pretty complex. Is it really when you try to do it yourself?
Yes, this is super complex, and this is one of the scenarios where people have done a lot of mistakes in the past, or the customers, because they try by themselves and then they drown basically in how to create a good navigation. And if you have a bad navigation, people in your company will not find the information they need. So that's why in some ways navigation is also one of the key success factor of an intranet. You know, like if you look at web design, and how to create good web designs, you should have maximum 2 clicks to find the information which you want. And I think the same policy should apply for an intranet, that 2 clicks is what you should have to find the information you want.
Since you mentioned the web pages and the good practices for the web pages, do you think it is useful to run some user experience workshops like you do for web pages, for example, to card sort the navigation to see how it should be done with your users, and then test it with them just to see whether it is correct? So is this something that has been done in your experience, and if not, or if it was, how big of an impact it should have, or if it has?
If you run those type of workshops with your company, yes, it will have a huge impact. Because why you should treat your employees different than your customers? Like why you should do those type of workshops when you create a web page where you want to attract customers to come into your site? Why should that be any different than when your employees need to find internal information inside of your company? So yes, those type of workshops will actually have a huge impact of whether or not intranet deployment is successful or not.
Yeah, that's very true, really. The perspective of how do we invest in communicating externally versus internally is, well, it's mind-opening, actually. So thank you for that. So I've created some screenshots showing different types of navigation for everyone to see. I wouldn't say this is the best navigation I've created, but we can see clearly the global navigation you mentioned, the one that doesn't change when we navigate through portal. We have a footer navigation with links to social media, privacy policy here. We have all the page we see here is all about in-page navigation, different buttons, different clicks. But I like when they're clear. I don't know if you agree. So do you want to become an innovator? Share your idea. So we know what will happen when we click share your idea. We exactly know what would happen, and we are not going necessarily to click on it just to check, because if we have an idea, we are going to click on it. If we don't, we won't. So yeah, so this is what I like, and this is all out of the box SharePoint. So so I think the navigation there is quite okay, but as you said, you need to make sure you've set it up correctly.
Exactly, because if you don't set it up correctly, it can be overwhelming, basically. So yeah,
that's true. So let's move on to the next challenge, which is a little bit more complex because it's about something that's outside technology, outside intranet. Navigation is there, branding is there, but contents, what content sprawl is? And I prepared to the
That's great.
Yeah, I'm very good actor. So since I created the question, so let me just explain. A content sprawl is something that we do not want when companies' content and resources grow uncontrollably. We cannot manage it because everyone is putting content there. It's it's bigger and bigger. It's very difficult to find what's the fresh information, what's outdated information, what is what, right?
Yeah.
So this is a content sprawl, and what can we do just to avoid it? Because I've seen and have you seen an intranet after a year where a content sprawl occurred?
Yeah, I think this happened sadly way too often because like if you don't have clear policies about how to create content, if you don't have clear policies about reviewing the content, if you don't have clear policies around templating around content, and then of course you can have that content sprawl happening because you need to have templates to make sure that pages are created in the same way, for instance, or sites are created in the same way. You need to have or even document templates, because in my opinion, also documents are a huge part of an intranet because you are sharing documents that you are working on in your organization that should be published to the intranet. And of course, if you have, I think everybody has experience that you have the same document in 10 different places, or maybe the same page in like 5 different places, because you don't have those clear content sprawl strategies to prevent it.
Mm-hmm. It's good you mentioned the templates because we also work with them. So there is a lot of different templating inside SharePoint.
Mm-hmm.
You can or Microsoft 365. You have document templates. You can have page templates.
Yeah.
So for example, you would like to put the same kind of news every now and then, so you can use the page template. And there are also site templates. So we gathered them up all together, just to give people, one-stop shop. So
Yeah.
I would like to create an onboarding site. So click here, you will get it. I would like to create a departmental site. Click here, you will get it with all the description, what you should put there. So this is our way to try to avoid people thinking on their own, because people are clever and people will overcome their problems. But the problem is every individual will overcome it in a different way. So we'll have very different elements for the same thing.
Yeah.
So this is what we wanted to avoid.
Yeah, it's extremely great to see this. It's very important. And even if you have templates in SharePoint, the problem is that they are not centralized yet. So if you have a site template or whatever, you have a page template for that site.
Yeah.
But on another site, you have another page template for that site. So they're not centralized. So by this, you can have that content sprawl. So that's why you need something like this tool that you show me on the screen right now, which will prevent that basically. Another thing that is important to prevent content sprawl is to have people that is responsible for different parts of the intranet to make sure that that content sprawl also doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The correct distribution of responsibilities, I think, that's important not only within intranet, but once again, if we do it somewhere else, why don't do it here as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And something maybe similar, but as I said, I didn't change the questions that came up. So how to keep content up to date? So content sprawl is where we have too much of up-to-date content and everything is up to date and we do not know what to choose. And this is where, and I've seen it myself, people do not believe the content that we have in the intranet. They say, okay, I know this procedure is described within the intranet, but I don't think it's valid, right? So keeping content up to date is not only important for us just to have everything in green and for people to say to us that it's great, but also from this user perspective. So what can we do to keep the content up to date?
Yeah, it's a very important question here, because one thing, typically when you are a consultant and you come in and help people to create their intranet and figure out all those things, you are typically there just until the launch of the intranet. And that's a huge mistake in every company that goes in and get external people to come in and help them to build the intranet. It's like if you think that the intranet project is finishing when you launch, then that's a big mistake, because that's when it starts. And that's also where you can come in and kind of prevent outdating of the content, because if somebody will come in and help you to review all these things on a monthly or a quarterly basis, it will be totally different. So
yeah, it's important because as you already said, intranet is a tool.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're a taxi driver and you buy your first taxi,
Yeah.
your job is not done.
Exactly.
You haven't given any ride to
Yeah.
anyone. So
Yeah.
this is where you should actually start working. Yeah, that's completely true. And keeping content up to date is very important, since I also found it recently that unclear governance and outdated content are amongst top 5 reasons why intranets fail.
Yeah.
So people are not coming to intranet because they do not expect to find anything that's important.
Yeah, exactly. And if you go into an intranet and you are searching for, okay, what are the vacation policies in my company, and then you see that page was created like 4 years ago, you understand that this page is not updated. You understand that maybe this information that is there is not the truth. It's not the proper content no more. So that's why a lot of intranets fails, just because of that. Because again, as I mentioned, everybody, when they create like an intranet deployment projects, they plan until the launch, but they don't plan what they will do after the launch. And that's why it typically fails, because they don't have any plan to how to keep the content updated, how to engage the people during the time after it's been launched. They have a lot of good plans before you launch it, like to get some super user involved and to have like review of the content and the page and all that stuff. It's really great until the moment they hit the button and put the green light and everything is up and running. But afterwards, everybody has no good plan. So maybe everybody is wrong, but a lot of companies are struggling because they haven't planned what they will do afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And once again, I wanted to show you something. So
Yeah.
all the screenshots we've shown you previously, the elements are the parts of something we call engagey platform. So a platform that we put on top of SharePoint and other services just to make intranets work better. And the platform is extensive, and we are not digging into every single elements of them, because our meetings today is not about it. Whenever there is something relevant, I'm showing a little bit for you, and this is a very little bit, so very little element when you can actually specify how often would you like content to be updated within a specific site. And if you don't, a little element on top will appear saying, yeah, maybe review this page because it hasn't been updated for a year now, as for this one that we see here. And as well, if you don't, users will start seeing it after some time. Of course, you can disable it, but user will see, hey, maybe be careful reading through this because it hasn't been updated for some time now. And the trick is that user will know that such a thing can appear, and if such a thing does not appear, they will feel safe. So
exactly.
They know if something went wrong, they would be alerted. Like we are using, for example, the adaptive cruise control in our cars. So we know that the distance to the car in front of us will be maintained, so we can focus on different things while driving, on different elements of driving safety.
No, I think this is really looks like a really interesting and really cool tool, because again, if you look to what SharePoint offers out of the box, like if I, as a content administrator or responsible for the intranet content in my company, should rely on the tools of Microsoft, I have to go into each and every page library of all the sites that has been created and find out myself when the page was last updated. I don't get any help or anything from Microsoft to kind of let me know that here's an outdated content. So you can, of course, build things with Power Platform and Power Automate and all that kind of stuff. But again, then you need to have somebody internally to maintain those and make sure that they keep running and all that kind of stuff. So
but at least if you're thinking about tools, that means you already put a governance on paper, at least.
Yes.
So you think of updating your content, which is halfway there.
Then you will be halfway there for sure. So, but again, like as a person responsible for content, of course, if I have tools that will help me to notify me, and also even more notify the end user to say that, hey, this content is maybe outdated. This is like why people don't invest in these things, because it's the same as you invest in having a service agreement on your car when you buy a new car. So why they don't invest in the same for the intranets, to have like microservice agreement on the intranet, making sure that it is updated and that the content there is also fresh.
Yeah, that's exactly what we thought when we tried to cover this, and it works out pretty well, I must say. Sorry for a little ad here, but really, I'm really impressed how such a little thing can do such a big impact.
Yeah.
This is it. Okay, so the next challenge, I think that's really important. So how to increase intranet adoption, where adoption means more and more people using it, adopting it as their own tool, and user engagement. So how make people use it? So
yeah,
what could we do in order for people to use our solution?
So this is kind of like we touched a little bit into this point earlier while we have our conversation, because like again, to increase an adoption of a tool, you need to be where your users are basically. So for instance, this now in 2023, everybody is working in teams, everybody are sitting in teams. So we need to have also our intranet inside of Teams. We need to notify our users about things inside of Teams. And so with Microsoft, they have a couple of tools that can help us with that. So like, for instance, you have Viva Engage, which is like a more social platform where you can interact and you can have like a leadership corner. You can have like conversations, and also like, for instance, if I will be at the office, I can post on the wall there. So you'll get that kind of Facebook-ish interaction in your company, which create like a social engagement basically. And by this, you can actually drive the engagement by connecting people in a different way.
Okay, so you mentioned Viva platform.
Yeah.
We already talked about Microsoft 365, how those two interact with each other. What's Viva platform and how is it included or not in Microsoft 365?
Yeah, so some of the Viva tools, because Viva is a platform for Microsoft with like different type of modules. So they have like, I think it's like 8 or 9 modules at the moment. For instance, the first one that come was Viva Insights, was Viva Connections, and then you had like Viva Topics and Viva Connections, like those was kind of the first ones. Some features are included in the Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 license, but some are not, so you need them to have a Viva license, like, or a Viva Suite license. So, but for instance, Viva Engage is included in your license with the base features, but if you want premium features, you have to pay for them.
Yeah, no surprise there.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Viva Connections and Viva Engage, and I happen to know that both of them are somehow included in most common Microsoft 365 licenses. But if you could tell, what can they be used for directly? What features do they have that we can use them in our intranets?
So kind of Viva Connection doesn't have like a lot of features in a sense. It's basically just a wrapper around SharePoint intranet. So like your SharePoint home site inside of SharePoint, so you can bring it into Teams.
That's cool.
Yeah, so by this you will be able to reach your employees in the platform that they're using, and you can also bring it into the mobile, because you can have the mobile Teams installed, like the Teams for mobile installed, and then you can also reach your employees on the mobile, basically. It also has a dashboard functionality, so you can kind of create like some dashboard aids cards, as they're called, to kind of interact better with your employees as well. Now also Microsoft has announced that they can have more than one Viva connection experience, because in the beginning it was only possible to have one, but now you can actually have more than one. But if you want to have more than 2, again, you have to pay for it. Okay. But this was kind of a way, for instance, you can have a knowledge sharing site inside of SharePoint, and then you can bring that as a separate Viva connection.
So for example, I wanted to have 2 portals, like for the office users and for first-line workers, where first-line workers use mostly mobile, and I would like some sort of a dashboard, I don't know, to report an issue with a picture or something like that.
Yes, you can do that now with the new Viva Connect experience. You can have one for the frontline workers and one for the desktop users, basically. But if you want to have more than 2, you have to pay a premium license for it. With Viva Engage, it's more like a social intranet. I typically call Viva Engage like a social intranet, because you have not the full intranet experience there. But you can have some messages or news or announcements there. You can have some questions. You can interact, like, and you can have different type of social groups. Basically, you can have like a group for hiking or bicycling inside of the organization to create those kind of different places for employees to also raise their voice.
So employee communities, right?
Yes, exactly. And also the one of the last features that they announced like last year was the storylining. So you can have storylines there. So for instance, as an employee, you can just post like a storyline, like a little bit. It's kind of like YouTube Shorts in a sense, just for internal communications.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen myself the organizational culture that would support something like that, but I would love to. So
Yeah.
If anyone out there has something within your organization, I would really love to see it, and maybe you could show it to the others. So yeah, contact us, please. Okay, so the last challenge I found is how to effectively reach employees. And I have to explain myself, maybe not myself, but the questions I found. What's the difference between the engaging and reaching out to employees? What do I mean? So when we are talking about employee engagement, we are talking about the activities employees do by themselves, right? So they do things, they perform specific tasks or activities, and they interact with our tools, and they get the value from them. While the reaching out to them is the activity of the editors of us as the intranet team to basically to arrive to them with the information we want. So maybe we want to speed things up. Maybe we want to share the information that would otherwise have a smaller reach or maybe smaller impact. So what are the possibilities to reach out to employees with our news articles, with our documents, with our information that we really want to push to them?
Yeah. So right now, like in Microsoft, this is like one of the biggest issues, if you ask me, like, because again, we talked about like how to integrate the SharePoint intranet into, for instance, Teams, but there's no way that I can easily push a news into Teams. For instance, Microsoft has like a SharePoint news connector for the team sites, but nobody knows about that inside of Teams. And it's not as easy as I will just create a news and then it will be straight into Teams. So this is like really sad. And the only way we can share, as you show on the screen, is by email or into Viva Engage these days. So, but why sharing it to Teams is missing. This is like, for me, been like a huge thing like the last few years, because when COVID happened, everybody started to move into Teams and work into Teams, but I cannot easily go in and create a Teams connector, basically.
Yeah, so this is something we also saw when we were creating our Engage platform, and this is something what we solved or tried to solve at the very beginning. So we have these are the out of the box screenshots. So on the left hand side, we see some boosted news in some news feed where we can actually boost news from the organizational news sites. That's how they are called. And they will show in the different spots as boosted ones, as well as there is this send to menu where we can send via email or send to Viva Engage and copy the information there. We have extended it by send to Teams, and basically what we do, when you click on it and when you complete the form saying where to put it, where to push it, we are pushing it into the activity feed of Microsoft Teams, allowing both showing the notification on your mobile, on your desktop, as well as reading through the article without the necessity of leaving Microsoft Teams. And I know it would be a biased question right now, but do you think, have you ever encountered, because we did, and this is why we did it, how often did you encounter the requirement of sending push notifications to mobiles? So I've created this fantastic article. I want people to know about it. What should I do? Send them an email. This is an obvious example.
Yeah, no, like I think every intranet deployment would want to have this in a sense, and it's kind of interesting enough that Microsoft haven't done this out of the box yet.
Interesting part.
Yeah, because this will kind of close those two gaps automatically. And the fact that you guys have done this, it is great. It's just the sadness here is that Microsoft haven't done it, because this is something that should be there out of the box. But since it's not, it's great that you guys have put that into your platform, and to give the customers the option to actually use this, and in a very well integrated way. So it kind of looks like it's from Microsoft, how it's built. So from an end user perspective, you will not think any otherwise if this will be installed in SharePoint, and hey, this is a Microsoft feature.
Thank you for this.
Yeah,
really. But we are also pretty confident that that's the right direction. So yeah, maybe apologize for that, but but it really works. So why not to show it to people? But there is one bonus question we wanted to bonus challenge. So we've discussed many features, many tools. We are discussing today how to create a successful intranet, what to focus on. We already said about focusing on our internal team, selecting the right tools for the job, that intranet deployment doesn't end when you publish it to your users. But how to start? How would you say someone could start working on their SharePoint intranet?
I would always say a lot of people need to get external help. Honestly saying, of course, I'm biased in that since I'm a consultant. But anyways, I think it's important because you need to, again, have define clear goals. You need to do maybe a review of the current state of the intranet. That could be a great way to do things. You can also go in and maybe do an enlightenment workshop, to show all the capabilities. Because I honestly think that a lot of the companies that has created an intranet based on SharePoint, they are missing out of a lot of features that they don't know that is there, but that somebody that has worked with this for many, many years and know the capabilities of the platform in a different way. So that would, I would say, would be a great way to start. And of course, if you have experts in-house, then you can do it yourself as well, like internally.
Yeah. So we agree completely as well. We are SharePoint consultants as well. So we always encourage our customers to start with the discovery. Mm-hmm. So do not worry about the tools you might have seen on the market that you want, mm-hmm. because you don't know it yet if you want them. You need to inspect technologies for sure. You need to know what's possible and what's not. But you need to define your requirements. You need to match them. You need to know whether this requirement is important, or maybe it's something nice to have, and does not necessarily has to jump into your intranet at once. A very important part: invite your colleagues, build a team. So you cannot build an intranet yourself.
No, not at all. It has to be a team effort, and you have to have multiple people internally to drive it, basically. And also, as you mentioned in the beginning, when we was talking about the different platforms, we was talking about an intranet, SharePoint, and Microsoft 365. I'm pretty sure that most of the organizations out there, they're paying for a Microsoft 365 license, but they don't utilize it to the completeness. They're probably using 30% of the capabilities in their license, and that's where also to come in and get a discovery workshop for a company like yours, for instance, or something like that could help them to also get the most out of that Microsoft 365 license that they pay quite a lot of money for, basically.
That's true, and this is where we would like to thank everyone that came to our webinar with our special offer. So anyone who contacts us after this webinar, and it can be really any form of contact. I just put my contact information here. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can email me. You can find Knut or LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
So anyone who is interested can have this kind of workshops run by us for completely free. So we can show you how to what technologies are in your possession, or maybe are easy to acquire. We can discuss your requirements. We can help you prioritize them. We will prepare some sort of a plan, define a most viable product, as well as help you by creating a mock-up of your intranet. So you can just build a business case on this. So No engagement further that is required. You just need to express your interest in the topic, and we can help you to start, right, for free. So if you are interested, just contact us. Our consultants, certified ones, will do something like that with you. We call it a premium assessment or functional road mapping. So we roadmap different functions and different functionalities we would like to roll out to users that gives them the most value. So by contacting us and spending some time with us, you will end up with a plan. You will end up with a specific tasks to complete in order to, well, to achieve your MVP. I won't lie and I won't tell you that we will analyze your all intranet requirements and we'll prepare plan for next upcoming 3 years. But we will prepare a plan for you to start. And this is what we do with our clients, all the time. And I'm pretty excited to say that, yeah, anyone who contacts us after this webinar will get this for free, because usually it's not for free.
That's a great offer. So I do hope that people jump on that, because yeah, every company would, in my opinion, have a benefit of doing something like that.
Yeah. So do not hesitate to contact us, and please do. Okay. So what the future hold? What features do we have in upcoming months? So we can hope that will increase the efficiency of our internet.
Yeah, so there's a lot, but I think that we should focus on one, since we're kind of in the end of the time of the webinar now. In my opinion, like the most exciting feature that Microsoft has for intranets or internal communication coming out is a tool called Viva Amplify. So that will kind of allow you to create different kind of campaigns. So for instance, if you want to have an internal communication campaign, you can create that, and then you can go in and select which platforms you should publish that to. So you can publish it to Viva Engage, you can publish it to Teams, you can publish it to SharePoint. So by this, you'll be able to reach better your audience, basically. So this one is about to be launched in end of September, if I'm not mistaken, which is quite soon. So that's also something, like if you want to know more about Viva Amplify, that's also something, of course, we can help you with.
Yeah, that's really great. I think this is the one that supports a lot of the challenges we mentioned, because it gives you some kind of a governance, so it can prevent posting multiple times about the same thing in different places, because this is organized. You can reach out to people. Yeah, they will engage more. So I personally also think that this is one of the Vivas that we should hope and wait for.
Yeah,
I completely agree. Okay, so let's now see if there were any questions. This is the last part of our event today. So let me just switch to the event interface. Okay, it's loading. Okay, so how much time does it normally take to create the intranet?
I will say, like, normally it's between 1 to 3 months is what you should plan for a normal intranet deployment, depending, of course, on the requirements. But that is normally like 1 to 3 months.
1 to 3 months, okay. What about Yammer? Is it essential? Where is Yammer?
Okay, so that is very cool. Yammer is kind of Viva Engage. Microsoft just decided to rebrand it, probably because Yammer had a bad reputation. Like people the last 5 years thought that Yammer was dead, but Microsoft has actually invested a lot of money into Yammer the last 2 years. And since they were so successful with the Viva platform and people starting to use those different modules, they decided to rebrand Yammer completely to Viva Engage. So I will say that if you want to have a social interaction in your intranet, Yammer or Viva Engage is really valid for, and it's included in your Microsoft 365 license. So if you haven't tested it already, I would start to look into it. And if you need help, we are here to help you with that as well.
So Yammer, which was used to build in organization communities, is now Viva Engage with more features.
Yes.
Okay. So how AI fits to all of this? AI, artificial intelligence.
So AI, I think, will be more and more fit into it. Microsoft Copilot. So you will get Copilot for SharePoint, you will get Copilot for Teams, you will get Copilot for Viva Engage as well. And it will kind of help you to easily create content, basically. Like, for instance, you could have used Copilot or something to help you to write an article on the intranet and those kind of things. So
Okay.
I do think that AI will have a play into this, but AI will never be the answer to every questions out there.
The next question is in Polish, and I will translate it to English. So in Polish it's jak wielu ludzi trzeba angażować do moderowania intranetu, which means how many people do I need to include in order to moderate my intranet?
It again depends on the size of your organization. If it's a small organization, maybe you have to be one, which is never the good answer. But you know, like I will say, typically, like you should have probably at least 3 people. But again, it depends how big organization. Like a lot of times you separate this into like somebody is responsible for HR, some is responsible for legal, some is responsible for IT. So you should have different site owners. And by this, depending on the organization, it will also decide how many people you need involved.
Yeah, I have the theory about it, which means that if you are successful with your communication involving only a single person to do it, and really everything is okay, everything works, everyone is informed and engaged, and maybe you will need a different kind of intranet. Right? You do not need a full-scale intranet with 20 services. Maybe you need 2 of them that works well, and you are a kind of organization that communicates really, really well. But usually that's not what we see.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then last question, which is not a question. Great, I will definitely get in touch. That's great. We are looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Okay, so I do not see more questions posted today. Once again, thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for joining us today. And once again, please contact us. Let us talk about how to start your intranets. We are eager to do it. We are looking forward to do it. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to meet you on our upcoming events as well.
The same. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much and have a nice day.